dear viewers, wherever you are viewing us from, I'm your pastor, Pastor Moses Chilova, and in the studio I have a very distinguished gentleman. Him and I come a long way, and it's a pleasure to have him in the studio on today's National Matters. I have Mr. NGANDE MWANJITI. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Pastor. I'm looking forward to engaging with the viewers countrywide, wherever they may be. And I hope this is an opportunity for us to communicate on many issues.
Thank you so much.
Yes, please.
I know you, but who is NGANDE MWANJITI?
My name is NGANDE MWANJITI. I'm born from parents. My father was a teacher. In fact, my father was a teacher, and I'm fortunate one of my grandfathers was a teacher as well. So we have this long background of education. I went to school in various levels, did my university education, and I began working. In fact, I also worked as an training teacher some time back. And my first school was Bama Primary School. That's why I taught.
Bama?
Yes, just here.
Yeah.
And interestingly, I was even teaching one of my brothers at that school. And I joined the University of Zambia. I was working in the university library. Okay, and from there, I went to further studies. And then it was clear to me that, there are challenges of life and living. Challenges of life and living. So I looked for another job. I got a job in Switzerland, in Geneva, as one of the associate secretaries.
In Geneva?
In Geneva.
When was that?
It was 1986. 1886, yeah. Okay. And in fact, I did the first stint was as the regional coordinator of the World University International. We dealt with several programs for Namibia, South Africa. Then it was under that regime. I dealt with issues of the region. I was running a program which covered all the SADC countries. And when I moved to Geneva, I added in some other countries who were in Europe, to be particular Italy, Portugal, Spain, France, England. Denmark wasn't there. And of course Canada was involved, and then 2 countries in Latin America and Asia. So yes, I had this kind of like profile of engaging at local level, regional level, and international levels. So when I came back, my thrust was to share with the colleagues that issues of excellence, even in Zambia, can be achieved. I can tell you that in my time of civil society activism, I think I was able to make a case that we can do what must be done.
When did you come back from Geneva?
I came back in 2003. From
1986.
Well, I was in and out, and my job was such that you never even felt that you were in Switzerland, in the sense that I think in a year it was impossible to finish a month in Switzerland. So I was in and out, so you didn't really see it. Sometimes I was in Latin America, sometimes I was in the US, sometimes in Europe, sometimes in Asia. And one of the things I liked doing, and when I look back, I said, look, that was an interesting way of looking at things. Every time there was a long weekend that side, I came back to Zambia. And every time there was a long weekend in Zambia, because I could afford it. I could afford it, and for me it was kind of like a job. Somewhere passing time. Yeah, so I came back, and when I came back, one person who actually, not necessarily encouraging me, but somebody who made a case was late Justice Musumari and Bishop Mambo. I met this gentleman in Vienna, Austria, and I was coordinating the entire African group in terms of participation in the World Summit on Human Rights. So they made a case to me, convinced me.
Were you a lawyer by then?
No, that time I was not. I was a political scientist.
A political scientist, yeah.
Political scientist, science, and engaging in activism at that level.
So you met Bishop Mambo.
I met Bishop
and
Mambo.
Justice Musamali.
In fact, it was a very interesting encounter because in that group of Zambians, fortunately, there was a Zambian who is my auntie was in that group. So when I met these Zambians, they said, how do I prove that I'm a Zambian? Fortunately, my auntie was in that group, so he said, NGANDE. So we hugged and okay, fine. This is my nephew, Mrs. Mushota.
All right.
Okay, that's my auntie.
The wife to the late Remy Mushota.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, I met with them. So I was with them lots of time with the Zambian delegation, Bishop Mambo, Musumali, late judge, and I think there was Emily Skazwe, Chilufia, Kasutu. It was a good delegation of Zambians. So I began because I was in there because when you are preparing for a world conference, there are prep coms. So I'd been representing our organization in the prep coms that are taking place in Geneva and in New York. So I had a good edge of knowledge of issues. So because I knew the issues, it was easier for me to help my friends from Africa, I'm an African too, to navigate through the issues. And I think one of the things I liked there was to represent the African group very well. And I can tell you that one of the things which I did was to give a speech on behalf of the African delegates before the heads of states who had come to participate in the Vienna conference.
Were you married by then, or?
Yes, I was married.
And how many children have you got?
I have 2 children. I have a child who is, I think, Muleana is over 30. And Monsara is about 23. She's going, this year she'll be 24, I think.
Okay, yeah. And how has been your marriage life and your church life and all this?
Well, my marriage life hasn't been the best of experiences, but it's been a good experience. And my church life, I wouldn't say much. In fact, one of the interesting things which you might comment on as a pastor is that I was going to church very religiously. And at some point, somebody says that, but you aren't a member. I said, no, I've been going to church since the time I was born. He says, no, but for you to be a member, you've got to go through these rituals. I said, so I've not been a member all this time? He said, no, you've not been. So I said, okay, I'll go through those things and become a member.
Which church was it?
UCZ.
Oh, okay.
So now when I heard that my church was in the business of announcing that we owed by so much, they're owing so much money. I said, okay, fine. I took a straw, got some interest in terms of engaging with them. And I think we put up a process and procedure which resulted in what you are seeing now of the UCZ. I think one of the things I didn't agree at a personal level was that the first time I went to a synod office was almost 40 years ago. And I found it unacceptable to go to the same building, almost same setup. So I said, but we can do better. And we did better. And I said, that's my way of worshiping my God. Work with a team of people. Yeah.
Let's come back to this issue.
Yes,
I knew you during President Kaunda's reign and President Chiluba's reign.
Right.
At that time, you were very strong with civil society, and we're looking at the role of civil society in a democratic nation like ours. I found this to be an interesting article.
Okay.
It says, by civil society, I mean the entire range of organized groups and institutions that are independent of the state, voluntary and at least to some extent self-generating and self-determining. This, of course, includes non-government organizations like the ones we see in this room, and the article goes on to say, to be part of the society groups, you must meet some of the conditions as well. And in this article, I discovered that civil societies, this is a professor, he says the role of a civil society group is to provide checks and balances to the government officials, to the state, and to call them to account. Is that what you know or what you learned? Or?
Well, the thing is that there are many definitions of civil society. By and large, what you've captured is the essence of it. One of the fundamental roles that civil society must do and does is to provide effective checks and balances. I use effective checks and balances because sometimes you find people speaking, and for lack of a better word, speaking all kinds of things which sometimes don't make much sense. Now, in order to provide effective checks and balances, you must know the government machinery functions. Why? It's important that you don't make a mistake of insisting that government must be run through the media. There's a difference between accessing information and insisting that you run the government through the media, because no government is running the media.
So you can't run a government through the media?
You can't. You can influence the running of government programs through the media, but you cannot run the government in the media. You cannot do that.
Would you explain more on that?
The media, properly put, is called the fourth estate. Why? The media is key to any society. It is key whether dealing with the government machinery itself, they must deal with the media, or the political formations must deal with the media, and the media itself must deal with those people. And the role of the media is three things: inform, entertain, and educate. Obviously, different media houses sometimes try to do certain things which are outside those three. But those are the three key aspects of the traditional media, the way we know it, which is quite different from the new phenomenon of Facebook, where people in the comfort of their bedrooms or kitchens or whatever they may, they can post anything. They can post anything. And one of the things which I know, and I think that's the case with Cabinet, you have gatekeepers who ensure that only what must go out goes out. Whereas Facebook, as we know, just get your phone, whether it's a tweet, send a tweet, whether it's a post, just post,
false or true.
Yeah. So coming back, civil society plays a very key, vital role, and the word, the operational word is civil.
Civil.
When we say disengage, based on civility, you are accepting the importance of politeness in relating with each other. Now, here is one thing which is not discussed at length, the pastor. I'm very happy to be talking to you in this studio, on this station. Why? The genesis of something which is passionate for me, the human rights movement, can be traced to the early engagement of the church. Okay? The person who pushed the natural school of thought, where the human rights dogmas resides, is a church background, a serious one. So having said that, one of the things which I laugh about, there was a debate some time back, not only in this country, even in other countries, to say, why should the church be involved in governance issues? But look, the church has a moral duty to be involved in governance issues. And there is no way it cannot be involved. And I even go far, pastor, to say that all governments in Zambia, for instance, they have been formed from civil society. And all presidents, at one time or the other, they have been involved with the civil society organizations. So from that point of view, it becomes extremely challenging and almost self-serving for anybody to suggest that the church and other groups cannot be involved in governance issues.
So you agree that the notion that people have, let there be a separation between government and church, is a wrong one?
It's a very wrong one, but because the separation is right there. The government is there on its own, so is the church. So to talk about something which is there already, it makes very little sense. What needs to be emphasized over and over is that the church has a duty to be involved in national politics. The church will always be involved in national politics, and they have been. The church has no business in being involved in partisan politics. So I draw a distinction between partisan politics and national politics. Partisan politics belong to political parties. What they do is guaranteed by international law, even local law. That's what they do. But the church, I would say, is one of the oldest institutions. Each person who believes in Christianity, who believes in the word, at one time or the other, we have to engage with the church. When they are born, and unfortunately when they die. So the church is a very strong moral compass. And it will be a very interesting debate to see the rationale which anybody can push that the church must not be involved in governance issues. Again, I emphasize the church will always be involved in national politics. What do I mean? National politics are things like clean water. There are things like housing, shelter, issues of poverty, education, road infrastructure, all those kinds of things. No road will ask anybody which political party they belong to. They just drive on it. It doesn't. So those are national issues. If you don't talk about the value system, the church will be in the forefront in pushing for a particular value system. Okay? Whereas political parties cannot by design be part of that equation. By design. Because you belong to a political party because you believe in what they do, what they stand for. If you don't believe in what they do, you may agree with them, and you can say, okay, where the process matured, you find people saying that, look, this time around, I will vote for this particular formation. Was that making sense? Then you say, okay, no, these guys, I think they've lost it. I'll vote for this, no? So it goes on and goes on. And this is why even the church and many others, NGOs, we need as a people to push the frontiers of knowledge. Let our people be informed so they can make informed decisions. They must not decide on the basis of emotions. Because when we decide on the basis of emotions, which is what the crux of civil society work is, civil society is about organized and collective action. And here we saw it not too long ago, a few weeks ago, issues of electricity. People began to engage, raising issues, raising concerns, to the extent where the Republican president was involved in it. Net result, I think there's been a good, kind of like harmonization for now. People accept there's a crisis, but we cannot subject people to 12 hours of load shedding. So they're about to split it. Now, of course, it may mean inconveniencing the people working on those kinds of things. But that's what running a society means. You can't have it.
Like you said that you cannot separate church from politics.
You can't.
Because as we are talking, Mr. Gande, this church, this station runs on Christian principles.
Right.
But you find that for the genset, which has been running from afternoon to now, we are still on genset, it uses diesel.
Diesel, actually. You must be paying so much money.
We pay 2,000 per day, actually. The other day I said 1,000, but my wife corrected me. So she's there to see that the team, as CEO, we pay 2,000 kwacha for diesel per day. And for electricity, we pay 3,500 kwacha every Friday. So when you put those costs together, I don't know who should be there to say, no, the church can't talk. Or
no,
because
it's
they
not
are a
possible.
church,
It's not possible.
just stick there.
No, it's not. The church, firstly, before they become church members or pastors, they are citizens. Pastor, when you were born, you decided to be a Zambian at the age of 18.
Absolutely.
So you became a citizen. The government owes a duty to all Zambians. So if you decided to be a pastor, as you decided, you became a pastor. That doesn't take any right away from you. Never. It doesn't. So we should not have a situation where, because people misunderstand issues, they begin advocating that you can't have the church involved in the politics. What I don't agree is for the church to be involved in partisan politics.
Yeah.
Because when you stand up to preach, by the way, I follow your sermons, wonderful sermons.
Thank you.
Now, when you are preaching to people of different political persuasions.
Absolutely.
So the moment you begin to take one line, other members of your church will feel isolated.
Will take offense.
Absolutely. And I did say somewhere at some church, I said, you know what, you people, I hear you very, very well. But do not politicize the pulpit.
Absolutely.
You can politicize on national issues. Okay? But come clean. Don't begin giving party signs, party symbols. That's what sometimes becomes a challenge. We need to get to a point. I mean, people don't, for instance, want to accept that the former American president, Mr. Trump, was a Democrat. And when he found that things were hot in that seat, he moved and became a Republican. And that's when he became president. Because the Democratic window was not very helpful for him. So he moved across. He initially was a Democrat.
Yes, he was.
So the point I'm making is the right to association doesn't change.
And also, like in our country, our current president is a Seventh-day
Right.
elder.
Right.
You know, so for anybody to say, don't talk about politics, if he is attacked, where is his pastor? Where is his church? Because apart from him being a president, he's a soul.
Yeah.
He needs encouragement. He needs direction.
Absolutely.
He needs a correction. He needs. So the church is very critical, as you said.
The church is very critical for everybody, politicians, engineers, anybody, any profession, you need the church. In fact, I'm sure you know, in most meetings you go to, some of them we begin by prayer.
Absolutely.
So really, I think I can only emphasize that the role of the church is central to life and living.
Let's go to this. We're talking about the role of civil society, and
Yes,
of course, you as a human rights lawyer will touch a number of things. There are two extremes that I have seen in civil society groups. Extreme number one is that there are those civil society groups that get money from outside to promote useless agendas in a nation, like Zambia. They will be funded so that they are propagating the agenda, which is one, not traditional, not godly, not what, and they put pressure on the government and the nation. That extreme, I've seen it. That others, they are there for money so that they can get this from, donors. The second extreme is those civil society leaders, civic leaders, who are there. They make so much noise. They make so much noise. It's not that they believe in what they are saying. They make noise for a position so that they can be appointed. And once they are appointed,
they keep quiet.
They keep quiet. Now you wonder, what did they believe in? And like somebody said, he told one civic leader who was so vocal, and he said, sir, before you were appointed in government, you used to be so vocal.
No,
what has happened that you have become quiet? The answer that was given
was,
blesses my heart, he simply said, young man, it's not polite for somebody to be talking with food in the mouth.
Yeah, so
those two
extremes. The one thing which I will speak from my experience is that generally, when, and I can't speak for donors, they will speak for themselves when they must, but generally, donors rarely come with money and give you to say, look, you must do X, Y, Z. One of the things I found as a challenge among civil society organizations is that, they engage with, some of them engage with little knowledge of the issues at hand. Okay? So then they are told, okay, you need to design a 3-year plan, a strat plan. Okay, and sometimes the donors say, okay, fine, we can pay for somebody to help you. Now, for me, my view is that, and my experience was that I went to deal with donors on my terms, and I didn't find any donor lobbying me for any position I didn't agree with. So, what is the lesson? Very simple. We must instruct our people. It's not just a situation of saying, this NGO, that NGO, who does what. Do you have the capacity and the capabilities of what you want to deal with? I always talk about engaging with the government machinery. It can be difficult. Why? One of the reasons that the government machinery has got highly trained people. In almost everything you can think of. So now here is somebody who is less baked, trying to interface with them guys. We have got all kinds of expertise. There will be a mismatch. Yes, that like in other society, you will find some individuals, some people who go in there for wrong reasons. Those if they steal, the action must follow. And I am saying that cautiously because sometimes people point fingers at people who have not done anything wrong. So yes, you have a mismatch between the people who want to push a particular agenda, and my answer has always been this. We need a society which is extremely alert. Therein comes the church. However I want to look at it, the pastor, the church is the goalkeeper of our values. When you combine the church with other institutions, our national anthem is so nice. It basically speaks to what the ethos we stand for as a people. That's what we must protect. This is what I've always said. You will never find somebody going to America or to England, wherever it is, to say, look, we want to do A, B, C, D. Why? It's because they are self-sufficient in whatever they are doing. And I am uncomfortable with this culture of always begging as a people, because it is not, that we are not born to beg, but we have reduced ourselves to people who, one, have no standards. 1, 2 people can accept anything. Because I'll tell you, it will be very difficult to go and push certain agendas in certain countries. In where the last football World Cup was held for football, they were very clear about certain things.
Absolutely.
The year we came for football, we support football. And of one of the countries in Scandinavia. They have good policy. They say, look, what do you have here as a people? That's what we will support. Now, the human rights movement is couched in an area of where you must make a choice. Okay? You make a choice for this agenda or that agenda. Okay? So, why should the defenders of Zambian values run away from defending those values? So the defenders of Zambian values are Zambians, you and me, okay, and many others. And I will tell you, should anybody push an agenda which is inimical to Zambia, I ask the question, where are Zambians? Why are Zambians allowing that? Because it really say, I mean, you know, I wasn't too involved in the church when Bakawonde wanted to introduce scientific socialism, but I am told the church...
We stood against it.
Yeah. So
it was shot down by the church.
Thank you very much. So for me, you know, I have not seen any agenda which cannot be diffused by, you know, Zambians. The most vicious agenda which we had was colonialism. It was vicious, dehumanized people. In fact, in one of my the thesis for my law degree, I argued that it's a misnomer to talk about freedom fighters. These people, freedom fighting was a consequence. They were human rights defenders. They were defending the dignity to this land. Okay? And they were defending, you know, the Zambianness. The ability to be able to live and lead the lives which they so deserve as given by God. Now, when, for instance, we take the extreme end, and one of the things which Pastor, I was quite humbled 2 days ago, last week Friday actually, I was requested by a few groups, individuals, and to say, can you chair this board of Lusaka district business DBA, which is a member of Zaksimba. And I said, okay, I agreed. Why did I agree? Because clearly it is only us who can set the agenda which we want to set for our country. And the other people who come in, if we are not clear about what we are doing, it's like I've come here. This is your station. It's cabinet. Now, I can't come to cabinet and say that, no, I don't like these colors. But you are the owners, you like the colors. So, I believe that if it ain't broken, don't fix it. I am a guest here. I cannot, as a guest, come to tell you what you should do.
But Africa is on the receiving end. Most of the time, we are told what to do. Because
we've allowed it. My view is we are on the receiving end.
Who has allowed it?
Africans have allowed it. I can tell you, Pastor, I worked in an environment which was quite hostile. I went to my boss, I said, you know what, boss? This arrangement we are pushing, he said, no, we can't trust Africans to handle this information. I said, no. We can't be fighting unfairness on the basis of unfairness. You cannot insist that this component of a program will be only handled by a certain group of people. I don't agree with that. And I rationalized my disagreement. I said, if you are pushing an agenda which is going to see changes in South Africa, okay, you cannot push that agenda using only certain people. You've got to be all-inclusive. And after I made my case, my GS actually agreed, said, okay, fine, I think you've made your point. So my argument, the pastor, is that sometimes we think somebody is shortcutting us, but it's because we are pushing a wrong deal. We have been very bad as a people at, for instance, electing presidents. Anybody who says I can elect two campaigns very hard, okay, fine, this person is popular. But the simple index, for example, that I give, Pastor, is that if, say, one of these conglomerates like Barclays Bank, Standard Chartered, whatever, Anglo-American, if you are looking for a CEO, do you think they will hire some of the politicians?
No, it can't. They can't.
Now, it's the same thing. If you are looking for, for somebody to come and run your church, healing ministries, I think it would be very unfair, Pastor, for you to just walk in the streets of Lusaka and say, you come and run the church.
You are popular.
Yeah, we are very popular. He doesn't know anything about that. Maybe.
But you see, beloved, you people don't educate the masses enough.
I concede.
Because African politics, you see in America, it's different. Either you are Democrat or Republican.
Yes.
And the values are known.
Absolutely.
Either you are for this or this.
Absolutely.
But here in Zambia, let me talk about my nation. It is almost difficult. The one who carries the day is the party which is popular. And probably, if it has enough cadres who can insult and threaten.
You know, I don't know if the current president remembers.
Yeah.
When he addressed the first press conference at the Murungushi, when you accepted as president of the UPND then, he said he wanted to make
of the UPND,
yes,
not the Republican.
Of the UPND. He said he wanted to make a change in the way politics are done. And you stay away from insulting. Okay? Which I think he did for a long time. I am saying politics of insults, cannot make a good case for our country. And this is where the church must weigh in quite seriously. Okay? The church has a role in our national politics. Because if you don't come in, then you have a situation of unfairness prevailing. I always give an example of the church is a very rich institution. On a Sunday, in those pews, you find that there are lawyers, there are engineers, there are everybody, almost everybody. You have all the skills.
All the professionals.
All the professionals. And they come to you, our pastor, our father. Now, what then are we doing for our country, for the nation? So it's not, that's why I'm saying you cannot minimize the role of the churches to what you want, just put them on the side. Because they are a very potent force for social mobilization, for social inclusion. Because we are now dealing with the issues of exclusion. Now, when we deal, for instance, people not knowing what they want, we have a challenge. We don't know what they want, and then we call for elections. Okay? Elections are called, people say, okay, fine, who is insulting the most? They vote for the person who is insulting the most. Or who is talking the best? Okay, we like the way he talks. Look, whether you like Bachilova, your namesake, for Bachilova.
He was an orator.
He talked very well. But there was a time when he attempted to define poverty in Kanyama. It was kind of like a disaster. Okay? And I'm saying this because I engaged with him. Like I said to him one time, Mr. President, that's when he has now left his state. I think, don't listen to what people are saying, sir. I would be happy if you went for a treatment. And he did. I think, they, both the church, civil society groups, many others, we have a responsibility for doing things which will move this country forward. Because if we are going to a state to tell our people the right things, what will happen? People will vote based on their emotions.
Yeah, I go back to what I said, MWANJITI, that you people are the ones who cause us to be where we are. As civil society, there is this, I was just looking at the American civil societies. They say their first and most basic role of civil society is to limit and control the powers of the state. In there, they want to express, no, Mr. Trump, where you are going is not, no, Mr. George Bush, where you are going is not. And the presidents and the government, they listen there. But I'm saying, when you don't educate the people, you, as civil society, to come and say, it's not about a famous party. Do you have a person who has a vision for this country?
Absolutely.
Do you see anybody? For example, I'll tell you, you are a lawyer, you correct me. I've visited Ethiopia a number of times. There, no Indian has a shop. You can't own property there as a foreigner, not even the Chinese. All the buildings that you see in Ethiopia and other cities, they are owned by Ethiopians. And there's too much money there. The hotel my wife and I go to, it's owned by a believer. It's a 5-star hotel, fantastic. When you are a foreigner in Ethiopia, you go there to invest with say $10 million. Make sure that $6 million you give it to an Ethiopian. Yours is 40%. And for you to get that 40%, it's almost impossible. The nation is developing. I'm talking about Ethiopia. Then I moved to China. Do you know that China, no matter how rich you are as a NGANDE MWANJITI, you can't even buy a 2-bedroom house in China?
No, you can't.
But why is it that here you find the Chinese with 20,000 hectares of land?
Yeah, because of this.
30,000 hectares of land. They have property everywhere. Why? You mean as the politicians we can fail to correct that?
You know, you raise a very interesting issue, and for me it comes down to one thing. Sometimes we tend to shy away from having the right people in the right positions. It is reckless for say a minister, as happened, to go to China at a cocktail, say, people, we are looking for investors. Come and invest. We'll give you a good plant land. We'll give you the land. They come. They set up Bank of China here. So you begin asking fundamental questions. The people who govern us, do they know what they are doing? Because there are places I know where there are lots of more Chinese than in Zambia. But you won't find the Chinese doing menial jobs like cleaning up the roads or moving those machines which are driving the caterpillars. No. So we need to make choices. Some will be hard, some not so hard. What do you want to do as a people? What kind of investment do you want? Do you want each and all and every kind of investment? We also need to shift away from this, what I would call in some, for lack of a better way to a pastor, a culture which is, which has been unfair to us. We have this culture where somebody who clearly is associated with wrongdoing is able to amass so much wealth. And then that person will get so much, people basically look at that person with lots of, these are the guys that you should clap for. Now, but that's your money. So we get back to the question raised. Why are certain things happening the way they're happening here? Else they don't happen. And for me, we come back to the real issue of the role of civil society. You are not going to consign it to an area where they have absolutely no influence. Now, one of the things which you and me and others must do, we must strengthen the institutions of government. When they are strong, you won't even be fighting the struggle of corruption the way it is now. We are fighting corruption which happened 10, 20 years ago.
So how do we strengthen that when you and I are not in government to make decisions?
Thank you very much. Same question I raised. Who do you want to participate at the helm of this country? You don't want somebody who is not sure of themselves. You don't want somebody who is not looking at the bigger picture of Zambia. Okay? You don't want somebody who is afraid of his shadows. And you don't want somebody without a vision. You want somebody with a vision, somebody who would tell you that, look, this issue of the 60p you pay on diesel every month, it can be cured in this manner. So you see, going down, you can even also see that, all right, we have a leadership which is taking on board the things we are raising. If you are going to be saying, look, we are not happy with the way, say, this and that institution is functioning, they are weak. It is for you to begin to put, as a church, for instance, as many other organizations, they come together, lobby for certain things. Like I always give an example of, a judicial review. Somebody has been, I said, no, go for judicial review. What we don't want to understand and buy is the fact that it took one person to disagree with a very powerful person in the US to begin the process of reviewing the decision of the judge. Yes, it always begins somewhere. Like, it took the whole of you to set up cabinet. If you didn't do it, there would have been nothing. But you did it, and for that, we must commend you.
Thank you.
So equally, when we see that there's a gap, there are some gaps which you see as a church. Why don't you put up a team of people, a think tank, to advise you, to advise the church, and be able to put position papers on particular issues, and go beyond putting the position papers, lobby for their enactment, lobby members of parliament, bring them to a church, go to them, say, look, guys, this is what is good for this country. Like people, you have got so much power as a media. You should be able to say, okay, you want the presidency. Convince me beyond what you are saying that you can make a good president. So you should be able to ask a question, okay, say, when we elect you, what do my children or my grandchildren inherit? The person must be able to tell you. They must be able to tell you, look, these are my plans. This is what we are going to be doing. If somebody tells you that, look, no, I have I want to do things this way, that way, then you must understand that the person needs to understand how the government machinery works. Because the government machinery, works in a particular manner where you and me can shape it. The government will listen to what people are saying all the time. They may just take time to react. But in certain cases, like I gave a case of electricity, that was a general outcry. And there's been such similar cases. It is still a general outcry. Yes, so now what that tells me, and this I think we need maybe another time to discuss these issues, it means that our investment into the energy sector has been very little. But if what is being shown, not in public domain, some facts that are coming out, if it's very true that the government exports power to Namibia and other countries while we are suffering load shedding, it's not in our best interest. That I can tell you. You cannot take care of your neighbor's children and yours are suffering. You feed your neighbor's children and yours are suffering. I don't believe in that. The way I would respond to that situation is that is two-phase response. Firstly, let me state that I can't go in much detail on this issue because I sat on the board of ERB. Okay, so I understand some certain constraints, and one of the issues which you must deal with completely is that when you enter in a contract to supply power, you can't just switch it off just like that. You have to harmonize it. Here, the clear incompetence which has come through is people should not beat about the bush. It's our Minister of Energy. The Minister of Energy has failed. It has failed to stand up and project, okay, what kind of power do we need? If 30 years ago there was a report done by some experts advising that this time around we have challenges, why did they not pay much attention to that challenge? Because this crisis, it was foreseen 30 years ago. It's not new. So the question which I raise again, what is the ministry doing? Do we simply have a ministry? Like, I mean, look at the Mamba Core saga. In my view, that's a scandal.
It's a big scandal.
Because, you see, you know, the government then signed, you know, to buy power from Mamba at 11 cents per kilowatt, something like that. And then they were selling it to the people at 5 cents, somewhere, 7 cents. So ZESCO was subsidizing. So now some people have argued, no, ZESCO is inefficient, it must be sold. I don't agree with that.
No, I don't agree.
I don't agree with that. ZESCO is a national asset. So when people are pushing it must be sold, me, in my route, I said, let's get to know the full value of ZESCO before we talk about selling it. But for me, I am seeing a situation where this issue of energy has not received the requisite attention. Let me put it this way. I began to appreciate why Africa is called a dark continent when I sat on the Arab board. Because if you take a satellite picture of Africa, of the world rather, the only part which is dark is Africa at night. Because there's no power. So I was wondering, why do they call it dark continent? It's because even when you are flying, when you enter Africa, when you are flying Europe, you will see the lights sort of
everywhere. Yes.
When you get the dark arrangement, say, okay, now that's Cairo. Then you get this dark. You see some spots here and there. So we have not been that creative in terms of developing ourselves. And I'll say this, Pastor. You see, this nice outfit, it was put in place by you people here, not by me. So that's what we are doing to ourselves. We expect others from wherever to come and do the best for us. And we are just seated. It doesn't work that way in the real world.
But again, Mr. Njiti, I have, you know, I put it this way. I like sitting with people who are successful in life. And when I visit nations, I pick those concepts, what made them great. And we are not far from other people or other nations. You talked about electricity. How on earth can you sell electricity? How on earth can you sell ZNBC? You hand it over to Chinese, and they are running that. The machines are all in Chinese. You have to have a Chinese engineer and all this. Can that happen? Zambia to go and invest in China, and you take over the media. But what I'm also saying, I'm speaking about ZNBC because I pay tax. That's my media. I may have this Camnet TV, but that's our mother. It's a national asset.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
How would you advocate to sell ZESCO when in China, it's in black and white? There is no company that can invest in cigarettes. Cigarettes is a national asset, because that's where they get money for many things. And when somebody gave me the document to see the billions of dollars that come through cigarettes, whether you are Donald Trump or you are the richest man in earth or from Saudi Arabia, you can't go and buy even 2 shares in cigarettes. There are some national assets, but here you have the mines. It's a gym where you come and take if you have the strength.
You saw the issue in Japan about a few years ago. Their sales for alcohol were this high. Now they've dropped. Now that affects the recovery of taxes and the performance of the economy. So there is a wish for people to drink more. Okay, so one of the things which, yes, people will say Zambians are drinking a lot. One thing we shouldn't have done, but we did it, unfortunately. We shouldn't have sold Zambia breweries. there are certain national assets we should not have sought. Not because I believe that they must be nationalized or whatever it is. It's because there is no reason that you can advance which will convince me that an asset like ZESCO or ZNBC is better off in foreign hands. My answer is no. There is sufficient legislation which allows anybody from wherever to come and set up any big station as opposed to buying ZNBC. Because you are buying the brand, you are buying the goodwill. So my view would be that, yes, people with money do come, but we have to be clever in the way we deal with those issues. We have to be absolutely clever. And one of the things I'm happy to say that we like dealing with people who know what they're engaged in. The danger of just employing anybody, even here, you employ anybody. The danger is that you can employ a thief.
Absolutely.
So the human resource department must be so careful in the way they do the recruitment to ensure that everybody who's on board truly believes in the word, for instance, and they are able to walk the talk.
In Rwanda, sorry to say that, we've been called, several times to go as cabinet and see how the foreigners have encroached. They are now even taking up some recreation grounds to say underneath there is copper. They are making mines there. Whether the government knows or not, people are crying right here in Rwanda.
But my view on that is that, you have a duty as a citizen, as a station, which is so credible, to be able to go to the relevant authorities and say, look, you people, this is what we are seeing. And if they don't listen to you, this is why you have this fourth estate. The fourth estate deals with all manner of dissent. Yes, dissent is not the right, but the truth is, it is the right in some way. It is captured within the framework of, the human rights document. Dissent by itself is not the right, but technically it is, because it's couched in things like the right of opinion. Now, if your opinion is adverse, it's your opinion.
Mr. Gande, please tell me, I touched on this. Before the elections, there were a lot of civil society groups talking. And after the elections, everyone has just gone quiet like a submarine. And there's no talking, even on the wrongs, even on the rights, because it is wrong to assert that the government is doing everything wrong. We fail to point at the right things that the government is doing. But a good coach is not somebody who watches soccer, clapping. Coaches, they just watch there to analyze the mistakes. And when I was teaching my children how to drive, all of them, they would say, but Dad, why are you hard on me when I make a mistake? And I said to them, I have 3 ladies and 1 boy. I said to them, if I don't correct the mistakes, they will be saying, oh, that will be an insult to me. I must teach you as a lady when you drive. Nobody should say it's a lady. And my role is to talk about bad things. When you are doing right, you see me recline the chair, and I'm enjoying your drive. But when you don't put effort in it, I talk. And I believe, Mr. MWANJITI, that the role of civil society and the churches and the people who mean well, when I criticize you, it should not be taken like I'm an enemy. That's another problem we have in Africa.
You are absolutely right. I mean, you talked about people who, when it suits them, like before elections, they are all over. Now, after elections, they have kind of like gone under waiting for an appointment, or they are speaking because they want an appointment. Now, that speaks to lack of principles. It may be the season. There are seasons for everything. But fundamentally, if you're a brand, if you are known to hold a particular viewpoint, should you let go of that viewpoint, you must make that your decision to let go known. Because everything does change. Now, what would be challenging is to have to change 360 degrees. There was a time when I did think that some of the statements some people make were more political or aligned to political thinking than a mere objective statement as to say, like if we're going to be talking about the expansion of the Bill of Rights. Okay? You can talk of it from a point of view of a civil society organization, or you can talk about it from a point of view of supporting a particular political position. And that is what creates the challenge. There is one group which was very, very active before elections, and it's just gone under completely. Completely under. And I'm asking, when the media called me, I said it's unfortunate that they have gone under in that manner. And even answering your question, I would be saying it's extremely unfortunate to have a situation where somebody takes a position, unless you get involved in an activity which doesn't require you to take that position, it becomes more of a challenge. I will tell you that I'm personally very proud that in 1996, we came to the conclusion that if we didn't do something about the election, we're going to have a disaster.
In
1996. So what did we do? We came up with a code of conduct for the ECZ. Now the question was, we are NGOs. We don't have the power to. So we went to lobby Judge who was the chairperson. We lobbied him. They accepted it. They took it as their document. So for me, the fact that they took it as a document for ECZ was a plus. And I should not be saying that, no, but you see, we should be somewhere acknowledged. No, that's not how it goes. They took the document, they took ownership of it, and now it's national law. So for me, again, I raise issues of, accidental engagement or participation. There are many such accidents where people get involved not because they believe in it or they are trained in it, but because there's an opportunity. You are looking for a job. You must find something to do.
I'm looking, Mr. Gande, the word of God in here. This is the word of God.
Yeah.
The Bible says, he that kills by the sword shall die by the sword. God said that. And in the Old Testament, it's full of that.
Okay.
You know, when you have capital punishment, you say, if I kill this person, I'll be killed. It brought fear on people. Okay? What is your view on abolishing the death sentence? I know you are a lawyer, but because in America, there are some states
which still have that.
Certain states they've done away with. I am saying this because if there are 3 million criminals who are killing people, 3 million are in jail, and you pass them life sentence, do you know that that budget will be coming from the government to keep a criminal in there?
Yeah, you see, the one way of, in fact, the only way of looking at this issue, in my view, from a human rights point of view, the decision to abolish the death penalty is very progressive.
It's very
progressive. Why? Because when you have that on the statute books, 2 things are possible. What have happened? You find that you send somebody to go to be killed in that manner, and later on there is evidence suggesting that they didn't do the thing. So you can't bring back life.
No, you can't. And it has happened.
So, from that point of view, I don't think it's a good thing. Now, in the event that we go the way of having the death penalty, it must be, you cannot have somebody on death row for years. Because the taxpayer, they are bleeding. So it must be, you must be sure the person did it, and you must work on it there and then. Not keeping the person on death row for 2 years. That's torture. Because if somebody is not sleeping, every time they hear to my footsteps at night, they say, are they coming for me? so you cannot have even, yes, I think that one of the rules, one of the guiding, if you so wish, the UDHR, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, is so clear and loud on the right to life.
But let me make this point,
yes, please.
Mr. Gande MWANJITI. Certain laws are made. Death does not affect everyone if it's not in your family. But once you lose your mother, your son, you cannot compare the grief or the pain you are having to the fellow mourners. It's different. Those who are coming to mourn,
yes,
they don't share.
They don't feel it the same way.
They don't feel it. It's like somebody told us a story of these men who went to pay their condolences to their fellow man who lost the wife. As the widower stood by the door greeting his friends, others were just saying, oh, condolences, sorry about condolences. But there came this gentleman. Instead of saying condolences, he hugged his friend and they started weeping. They wept for about 2-3 minutes and others were waiting by the door. And when they finished weeping, he was so remorseful. And when he went out, as the friends drove out, they started gossiping the one who hugged the widower. I said, did you see how he embarrassed all of us? Like he's the only one who is grieving. And somebody said, hold on. That gentleman lost his wife 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So to see his friend
in the similar situation.
What I'm saying, Mr. MWANJITI, there are certain things we make them because we do not understand. I'll give you an example of one of my church members, a senior police officer, many years ago. He calls me and says, Daddy, come and see, we have a situation here. There is this human rights commissioner. He was so strong. Hey, boys, don't beat criminals. When they put them pakampero, pakaswing in the counter time, he would speak against that. But as days would go,
he now began.
His wife, sorry to say this, the daughters were raped in full view of the man, and he was seeing the criminals. He saw them. When they were arrested after days, identification parade, he goes there and he found 2. And he said, and he wants to beat. And the officer said, no, sir, human rights do not allow. And he says, idiot, human rights to who? This is my daughter. So what I'm saying is, sometimes we take this as a way of employment, not as empathizing with other people. They kill, somebody comes to kill the father, the mother, and this is the one. And you say human rights. Those people he killed, they have no rights to live.
Now, Pastor raised something very sensitive, something which I think society has misunderstood greatly and grossly. For instance, a child, where they are 20, 21, 18, 15, or 60 years old, if they elect to stay in your house, they cannot talk about rights. I'm talking about children's rights. They cannot talk about certain rights which go against your rules in the house. Okay? So similarly, the example which we gave there, if for instance, in that example, this man finds that this person who you are saying, this is a person chichine, that's why you say right? Now, the law will protect that man. Because he is responding to the situation, this is the situation there and then. The challenge will come when the man has been told that the person who killed this person that you know, or a child is this person. You see the person, then time passes, it means now I've been thinking of what to do. But if you react there and then, the law would tell that it accommodates your emotional state. Okay? And there is no, the role of the police in there is to protect life, your life and the lives of the criminals. But the way you respond is proportional to the situation you face. And no human rights come into play. Those are some areas where people will say, look, you are pleading human rights, people are killing us. It's not like that. The right to life is held in very high esteem by the human rights movement. And then similarly, one of the things which we suffer here as a country, and I hope we can do something about it, we need to ensure that the rule of law at all the time is effective. Meaning that if there is a problem, the law enforcement officers must move in very quickly. Not come after 2 days or after 1 week. But we hear there was a problem here. No, they must be able to respond. How will they do that? We must equip them appropriately. They must have their own vehicles. They must respond. They must have the equipment that they need to do what they must do. Just like if you say that cabinet is doing a very good job, I'm happy to see the equipment which you have. Now, if you decide to take away any of this equipment, your performance will be affected.
Absolutely.
So for me, I think I'm pushing for a win-win scenario or situation where the law enforcement officers, for instance, are given sufficient support, and individuals are also given sufficient education vis-a-vis their duties and responsibilities. Yes, you can say that's my right to dress as I wish. Yes, it's your right. But you have a responsibility as well. It is extremely irresponsible for any person, man or woman, to walk naked in the streets. Say at any time. One, you are offending other people. Yes, you're right, yes. But your right, must have limits. Every right carries with it corresponding duties and responsibilities. There is no right which is absolute. Every right, like I'm here at your invitation. When it expires, the invitation, I can't insist that I must be here. No. My welcome has ended. So my right to be here is ended. I can't be saying, no, I have to be here. They say, Pastor, I want you here. I must accept that.
I'm going to ask my director to play us a song.
Okay.
Mukasunga ne mwebana bandi. I like that song by the military.
Okay.
The one they sang. But before they play that song, you know the song, where the police, army, Mukasunga ne mwebana. Yes. I like that one. But before we go to that, during the reign of our father, President Kaunda, may so rest in peace. Superken. There was one law which was very strong. He never allowed anybody, if you what can I say? You know how to make blocks in Kenya. You can't come and start making blocks here and say you're an investor. Dr. Kaunda's regime at that time will say, is there no Zambian who can make blocks? You can't come and say, I'm the managing director of a chicken run at hybrid. The law was are there no Zambians who qualify in that position? I am simply saying, MWANJITI, we are losing jobs, people are unemployed, because those who qualify to do certain jobs, they've been replaced by expatriates. And yet Zambians can even do better. One case in mind, there is a Zambian, he oversees over 150 whites in Britain. He was a powerful metallurgist at NGANDE.
Okay.
He would bring, these whites would come, he's training them, expatriates, he's training them. But after some months, 6 months or so, the expatriates will be on top, and he starts reporting to them. And yet when things are tough in that KCM, they would call him. So in frustration, he resigned. He has been living in the UK for years, that pain. Why is it so that Zambia prefers other nationals, other people, instead of their own?
Well, it's an interesting question, really. And also it speaks to what do Zambians want? What do we want? How do we see our Zambia in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? Do we have a system? Because one of the things which Zambia has become very good at, we are missing the point of understanding of political participation. We think going in politics is an avenue for getting jobs. Okay? It's an avenue for getting jobs. Now that should not be the case. Because if you go that route, we have a situation where people are aligning themselves with this particular political party with a view that it will form government. When it forms government, they have jobs. So now, before you know it, the political machinery or arena becomes, a playing ground for politicians at the expense of other Zambians. So I would rather have a situation where we answer the question, what do we need for us as Zambians? What kind of value system do you want to embrace? Okay? Who is a Zambian? What if we are going to be like, for instance, talk about the Kaunda regime in terms of protecting jobs, that kind of thing. But you also understand that during Kaunda's regime, it would have been very difficult for community to exist.
It was, yes.
Yeah. So it's a kind of like a balancing act. And for me, the issue here, like for now, civil society, yourselves and many others, we have a duty to ensure the governance is improved at all levels.
No, during our father's reign, cabinet would not have existed. That's where you people needed to educate our father and those in politics to say democracy or even one party demands that you have so many eyes and voices, because from criticism you perfect your life.
In fact, one of the things which are, when you resist so much to something, the consequences of change, if not managed, can be a challenge. So in 1991, the change was not managed by Zambians.
It was not managed.
Okay?
It was managed by people.
It was managed somewhat, somehow. Okay? So if you don't manage change, it will change you. Change will manage you. So then the net result, your options are and they fall down to zero. You don't have the options which you should have. And you begin to ask yourself whether or not life is fair or unfair. Yet, life is not meant to be fair per se, but life can be fair. Really, we must ask the question, we are Zambians to be in Zambia, and the good Lord, our God, has done his part. Given us a country, he didn't give us tables The tables are in trees. He didn't give us, you know, the copper sheds. They're in the copper. But what are we doing? We're exporting it in this raw form. That, I would find it difficult to blame the current government.
The current government?
I can't, the issue of value addition, we can't blame the current government. We will blame them if they continue the habit of exporting copper in raw form. We have to have a mechanism for ensuring that what we are exporting are finished.
But how long did it take for SATA to say no emeralds will be exported? They were not being sold at Intercontinental here.
Absolutely.
He said no more exporting of this.
That's the kind of decisions which we need. Okay, as long as something is well thought out, it's practical, it saves Zambians, let's go for it. It will be problematic for us to engage in a process which is creating jobs for other people elsewhere.
But this is what I'm saying, Ms. MWANJITI. Let me tell you something. I'm a firm believer that if the president wants, he can wake up and go to parliament. I don't know whether it takes the act of parliament. That copper which you are talking about, I always talk about this, that Chingola thing. I found trucks, hundreds of trucks, carrying copper ore, not even being processed here, but it's going to Durban and being processed elsewhere. We don't know how much, we don't know the value. That's the pain of it. And this, where they are taking that soil, holes are remaining until everything is finished. If we don't develop our mechanism to pump out the water or manage the water, the floods of Noah will start from Chingola.
One of the things the pastor have said, yes, mining is a good thing, it's lucrative. But mining injures the environment very seriously. Copper belt, very soon, it will become a show of itself. People want to be interested in that. They have moved to Northwestern Province. But some people refer the movement in a very proud manner, say the new copper belt is Northwestern. Where instead of saying the new harm has gone to Northwestern. I would rather have a situation where we develop the mines, and the mines also take responsibility for protecting the environment. Because they can. Look, you know, it is for us as a people to say, this is what we want. And I think that's the point I'm making. We need to be able to say, we need X, Y, Z.
When are we going to say that?
For me, I wish I was in a position to say that. That is for people in cabinet, or members of parliament who may be able to push. And I think my role would end at loading members of parliament if I have a particular reason to do that.
But I've been saying it here with my wife on this platform that we need an endeavor. Me, I don't know how my copper is being used. That was left by our forefathers. And
but that's a legitimate claim, because look, no.
Who is giving a land? I don't know. I need to know.
What God did is to declare to Zambians, He gave us our copper and other minerals. Okay? Now it is for us to use those minerals to the benefit of this country.
Absolutely.
Now there is this issue which comes up. We don't have the money to invest. I've heard that so much. But my question, would be that we have been doing the mines for the last 50 years, more than 50 years. It would be good to begin looking at why we don't own one single mine, 100%.
We don't own one single mine?
No, we don't.
As a government?
No, we don't. We have shares in the mines.
What about this, is it Mufulia or what? The one,
the new one.
They said the government grabbed, is it KCM?
Well, I mean, I don't have the details about it, but the KCM, I think, there are few challenges around it. There was talk about the other transaction involving some other mine. I have not had sight of the transactions, what the discussions took place. So at the end of the day, what we must be doing, in my view, is to fine. We must develop a mechanism for ensuring that at some point, Zambia is truly benefiting from its mineral wealth. Because if we don't do that, posterity will be very harsh on us.
I want to ask you a question.
Yes, please.
Are mines also load shedded?
Mines, no. I don't think so.
Why not?
Simple reason, because that's the backbone of this economy. It's the same thing like the coronavirus. The question was, do we shut the borders?
And these people who have barber shops, who have saloons, they are not backbones of the economy?
Well, they are players in the economy. I will not say that they are the backbone of the economy. And please hear me very well. I am not here to justify why the mines are not load shedded. I'm simply saying that I don't think they are load shedded because of these long-term contracts with the suppliers. What I don't agree with is this. If you are selling your car, you should determine the price what you sell it.
Absolutely.
In this case, Zesco is selling electricity. To be fair, they should determine the price they sell the electricity. But now we have a situation where they are told what to. So that cost of service, let's see what the cost of service study is. We need to debunk that and understand where we are coming, where we are losing it.
Are you aware, Ms. MWANJITI, that there is no money in circulation in the economy?
Well, that's the statement I've heard so many. There's no money in circulation.
You haven't felt it?
I've felt. I mean, I cannot attribute the fact that there are no money. There's no money to my personal situation.
No. I'm just saying. I'm speaking as a pastor. You know, when you see a person quitting a job or losing the business, then they go looking for a job somewhere. And even the money, it's difficult now to come about.
It was one of the things which I also didn't agree with. I don't have the details again. And there was a phase through which there was so much money around. But that money was only with certain individuals, certain groupings.
No. That I'm not talking about when you mention the PF or the people having a few individuals having the money. I'm saying by and large, even the people in the country. Let's face facts. There is one thing that I'm feeling as a pastor, whether it's due to load shedding, there is no money in society, and we should not pretend about this. There is no money in society.
I will not have a particular viewpoint on that, but simply to say that you and me and everybody else is a duty to ensure that we have money.
Let's ask
please.
Let's ask my director to play the song. After this, we will engage the nation so that they help us.
No problem, Pastor.
My director.
Nalichulile mwe bana bandi Ine nalichulile mwe bana bandi Pakufwa ya fe mwikale wino Pakufwa ya fe mwikale wino Ine nalichulile mwe bana bandi Moshale ya mwe bana bandi Pakufwa ya fe mwikale wino Pakufwa ya fe mwikale wino Awe inena kana Nikasumyo mulopa awe nakana Nikasumyo mulopa awe nakana Nikasumyo mulopa awe nakana Nikale kabana Nami chichile chalo ichamutende nganshi Nalilwilile nkomdio upakupoko utungwa Ichibe imba chitila mwikala patalala Mwina patalalika Mwikalete ntulubunti Baliba imwe Nakane pasase Palimwe Mumulukane Zambia Hane Kelusulu Mali Luhanile Luhanile Mali Luhanile
Nyawasi Mweana ya mwene Kaleka bana baka chule Zangane mite mwaneni mwikalekana Kaleka bana baka chule Kasumane Gawanga naivo Zambia We know Mukasungane Zambia We know Mutakatili bulowa pepe na gagamewo Mutakatili bulowa pepe na gagamewo Mukalelane Zambia gabutu Mukalelane gabutu One Zambia, one nation should forever be your motto. Remain united as one, created in God's image. And above all, remember, love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Mukasungane Zambia we know Mukasungane Zambia we know Mukasungane Zambia Nandi Zambia Mukasungane Zambia Tekwensha kulwa Mukasungane Zambia Mutende na mishila musungane Zambia Ine mumweo wandina lisalo kuwombela bayawe nangunaya Nefwaya lesakatile mawombeni Ine mumweo wandina lisalo kuwombela bayawe nangunaya Nefwaya lesakatile mawombeni Awe nefwaya lesakatile Nefwaya lesakatile mawombeni nangunaya Nefwaya lesakatile mawombeni Wakamwike yo mwingilo wa mute Nefwaya lesakalande mawombeni nangunaya Nefwaya lesakalande mawombeni Awe nefwaya lesakatile Nefwaya lesakatile mawombeni
Our lines are now open. The text messages can flow. That song simply says, Mukasungane.
Yes, look after each other. Eh?
Look after each other. Shilefwa mukasumi omulopa. Shilefwa mukale umana. That was attributed to Super Kane, as you saw the
handkerchief.
with the handkerchiefs and what.
I see.
But the spirit of a Zambian, we need to bring it back, where we look after each other. And I, for one, beloved, I'm not ready to see any Zambia be reduced, any Zambian be reduced to be a beggar. And I can only appeal to the government. I made this appeal, by the way, to President Chiluba in State House, the two of us. May his soul rest in peace. I made this appeal to President Sata in State House. And for President Lungu, President HH, I am making this on this platform. Zambians deserve better. And if we empower the Zambians, you give me the empowerment, money and everything, I can tell you, I will employ more people. And this suffering, which they are calling suffering, some of it is self-inflicted. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, your pastor.
Is that President Nawakwe?
Yes, please. How are you today?
Permanently blessed. You sound like you are in the studio. You see that I can't miss your voice.
It's so distinct.
I never hide it. Good evening, my favorite.
How are you?
MWANJITI, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you, my sister?
How are you?
I'm good, my sister. God is blessing us.
It's good to listen to you discussing. I just have two issues which I would like to comment on. One, you state that you feel that the contract between ZESCO and NAMPOW and the neighboring countries cannot be cut. But I want to ask one moral question. 2 days ago, I got a call from Isoka Hospital. My nephew, the wife and the family had a 3-month child, 6 months, and the power was going on and off. And the child passed on yesterday.
That's not good. That's so sorry about
Condolences.
So I want to ask, when people in leadership like you're a leader, and the president and the ministers say that you can't cut the contract, is it okay for us as a family to lose a child because we have no power in soccer, so that we support the people in Namibia? Don't we as Zambians think that we have paid enough blood for the region through the liberation struggle? In Ichikumbi we are being bombed. Makeni here we are being bombed. How long do we think as a country we should continue to shed blood? When we make this discussion that it's better to have $500 million than to have my grandniece who was passed on because there was no power in the soccer hospital. And I'm just talking about my grandchild. I'm not talking about that child in Muyombe, that mother in Mongu, that mother in Namwala who has no power this hour, this moment, and they are losing a premature child in the incubator. And leaders like you, we expect you to stand up for that premature child who is in an incubator. Secondly, the issue on death penalty. I want to put it very clearly that I felt personally abused to get an invite from the president to go to State House to witness the signing off of the pledging of the death penalty from the statute. I'm saying I felt abused because we are victims. The normal thing to do would have been to call the victims who are well known, bring them into confidence, counsel them, and then you give reasons for why things have to be done. I'm educated, I understand the international outcry, but not even an outreach to say, how do the victims feel? What is going to be the alternative in terms of reconciliation and reaching out to family? The president is our leader, but he doesn't live in isolation. He needs to lead in a collective. And the collective is what unites the country. Even if you have a good idea, you need to throw it to the public, the debate, they come back to you and say, we think what you are saying is right. But I think that to ignore the feelings of victims, where a child is murdered in your face and thrown in a sewer pipe, and you can only be invited to go and witness for a law which you have not even canvassed around the country. I think it's a transgressor of justice. It's as worse as condemning oneself to death penalty. The president must learn to consult. The third issue is, I listen to you say, we the people of Zambia must decide what we want. We have a captain. The captain is our president. If today he says that there should be no exporting of copper ore, it will stop by midnight tonight. That's why we have a Minister of Finance who goes in the House. He says, I'm a bearer of a message from the President, and he should have said in 2023 there will be no export of copper ore. It will cease by midnight tonight and it will stop. So let's stop going around the bush saying, go to the MP, go to this, let's have this meeting. No, the President must take the leadership and show us where we must be as a country. Thank you very much.
Your survey has spoken.
Yeah, my survey has spoken. There are three issues she has raised.
Yes, she has touched on three issues: the issue of power, death penalty, and what you are saying that Zambians should decide.
Yeah. So the issue of power. I think that issue is here. As I said, number one, we must own challenges when they come. As a country, we have not done much to invest in the power sector or the energy sector.
Apart from investment, beloved, on the issue of power that she talked about, somebody should have the strength to say we misled the president and still continue.
Thank you very much.
In the job.
For me, whether the person continues, first and foremost, in the person who said I'm sorry about misleading the president, I think it's the chairboard.
Chairperson.
And for me,
and the MD, chairperson and the MD.
I look at it from two angles. I would spare between the MD and the chairperson. I would spare a chairperson. The MD, that's why he's paid.
Is a technical.
That's why he's paid. That's why he is paid. That's why he's paid. His job is to ensure that we don't have these challenges. My survey has talked about loss of life. Really, that's extremely unfortunate.
Can you imagine?
There needs to be also a backup by ZESCO. If ZESCO applies to ERB, so they are going to export so much. Okay, they give a surety to guarantee that look, they have done their due diligence. So meaning that issues which just come as a shock, for me, are a challenge. They're a very serious challenge. So I would want to be more informed. What really is the issue at ZESCO? Where is the problem? And I don't think I want to reduce the problem to just exporting power. There must be a real challenge, because how do you have a situation where suddenly there is challenges? When a few weeks ago things looked very good, suddenly there is a crisis. If the case is somebody is overusing water, as we have heard, there ought to be a long-term solution, and I insist and I say that as a country we have not been fair enough to ourselves to invest in the energy sector. And I'm happy my sister at one time she was the Minister of Energy, or Deputy Minister of Energy.
And this is a study, yeah. She knows this sector.
I know this area she studied, at I think a master's.
Yes.
She's an energy economist. So clearly for me, I argue, I did not see the extent which would have invested so deeply into the energy. In fact, at a personal level, I pushed for a particular foreign arrangement. Okay, which today was on news to bring in about 2 billion worth of power. So I repeat, we have not done a good job in investing in electricity.
Yeah, but she has talked about the loss of a life, because we want money. It's not only the loss of life. That is not the only life we have lost due to power. I can tell you that.
Yes.
Now, there is also loss of businesses. The ones who are losing money are the small business owners with a saloon. I interviewed this young man who is making these plastics into pavers and what. Half the time, sometimes the whole day, it doesn't work because there is no power.
You see, one of the things which my sister have an advantage over me, at one time she was the Minister of Finance. So she has a better understanding of the way things are operating in terms of income flows for this country. What the priority is for, remember, the planning division also is in the Minister of Finance. Okay? So for me, I insist we need to ensure that in the next 2 or 3 years, we don't have these challenges. And the only way we will ensure that is by making a structural change. There is no good reason that will convince me and many others that ZESCO must be selling power at, I think, CEC, which resells the mines.
Yeah.
Why are we doing that? Why are we doing that?
When you can directly.
Yes, why are we doing that? So for me, there are some things which we must revisit. Any contract everywhere in the world can be revisited.
That's what she was talking about.
Now, if this is what I'm also saying. I'm saying, if she has enough evidence of an issue to make a case to campaign or to raise issues, why not? Because now there will be fresh information saying that, look, contract A, B, C is a problem because of the following things. Can we revisit it?
One contract.
I'm sure to be revisited.
One contract, Mr. Gandhi, which you and I are aware of. Zamtel was sold by the Rupee administration. May his soul rest in peace. Our father, Dr. Rupee Banda, sold Zamtel together with the fiber, optic fiber. It was sold. But when President Sata came,
he reversed it.
He cancelled the. This is what she's talking about. Is there anything that you can't cancel when your people are dying and the businesses are going down? I think
the big difference between a politician, as myself is, and a person like me is that a politician tells you what you want to hear, generally, and I will tell you the truth.
No. Let's talk about. Basata cancelling that.
Yeah, this is what I'm coming to. Basata cancelled that. No, it was probably one of the things which he had promised when during his campaigns. He cancelled that. I am sure the cancellation didn't go just without any consequences.
Yeah, but was it a good thing that Zamtel is still ours?
I don't know, because I have not looked at the Zamtel books to see whether we are making progress. What I would expect in any venture is a progressive engagement of Zambians. It is unacceptable for me to have a situation where entity A is forever and ever growing only as a foreigners. But I would be happy to have a situation where, because the foreign group, they have the money, they can invest, but there must be a clear exit plan. This is what China did. There was an American CEO and a Chinese CEO. So that's why I said, what do we want? We have many opportunities. We must not be a heaven of criminals. We have had people coming here to launder themselves, make money, even make statements which make us look bad.
But some of these things, beloved, it's because we don't love each other as Zambians.
Thank you very much. This is why I say,
let's be honest.
We must deal with the question, what do we want?
We don't love each other. We are jealous of each other. We are dishonest. I'll give you one perfect example. Zambia National Meeting Company was being managed by my church administrator, whom you knew, Mr. Mutanuka.
Yes.
Mwansa Mutanuka, you remember? He was Ebo MD for Chilanga. He was moved to this national meeting. When they were privatizing, he put in the tender the bid to buy that thing. He had what it takes. He knew everything. Trust me. The people who were privatizing, they hoped to give national meeting to South Africans. And they left a Zambian. For what reasons? Whether there was in Chekereko or whatever.
I know I did details, I can't comment. Because
no, I'm telling you because he was my church member.
Okay.
It's something that pained him to say, I've been MD for this
and then
for a long time. I want to take this. And they give it to South Africans. What they did was to just buy it, dismantle the machines, and take some.
Remember, at the very beginning, Pastor, I said that you cannot run government in the media. Okay, trust me. There are lots of things which you may hear about, but the detail will not be there. It's just like insurance contracts. You just you have like ZESCO contracts. You have no choice but sign it. Standard contract. You can't negotiate it. It's there. It's whether you must choose, do you want power or not. So because it's a first standard contract, you sign. And when they return, you say, but remember, you signed, Pastor. So what are some of the challenges of,
Let's pick some text messages. We haven't even answered your several questions about people, what they want, of course. And of course, the death penalty, she talked about this. But let's read this. Good evening. What has happened to the Human Rights Commission now? They've gone mute. Before 2021 elections, they were vocal and proactive. We have people who were vocal before 2021 elections. Now they've been appointed to positions. They've gone quiet. Now, did they form those pressure groups to get jobs in government because they are quiet now? What's your opinion?
There are two reasons why they could be quiet. One, if they have taken oath, they need to be lower.
So there's this, what's that?
The text going, huh?
There should be a deliberate policy to end poverty in the country. One of the rights for every Zambian is access to wealth. But this has not been championed by former ruling parties. Even the current UPND have not come out clear. During PF reign, they gave 20% to Zambians, whilst 80% went to foreigners for contractual jobs. Giving foreigners what is supposed to be for Zambians is a major cause of poverty among the citizens. This is Pastor Daniel from
you know him? Okay.
Good evening, Mwewa Fiashi and Mr. MWANJITI. Sir, do you see this new Dawn administration deliver as expected by the Zambian people? And what is your comment on their performance since elected so far? This is Boniface C. Lukonde and Baraston, Lusaka. What's your comment to this one? Okay, let's take the last one. My director, we have to answer certain. I am Enes Daka within Lusaka. HH means well for Zambians, I guess. Let's give him time. Pastor, I wonder why so politicians, whatever they open their mouth is just condemning HH. No, it's not good.
I didn't put his name.
He didn't put for fear.
For fear of what?
That he might be known by the friends. But you remember what I said?
Yeah.
To say it's when the government is doing well, compliment them.
Yeah.
And where they are wrong, tell them that you are going wrong, instead of burying our heads in the sand. But anyway, there were those questions.
But let me just make a little comment on the last one. If you mean well, if you are genuine, this is a country where it's a country of laws. You should be able to identify yourself like others have done. Not that somebody will follow you, but you must know that I'm engaging, not to say something and be afraid of something.
Not putting your name.
I mean, I don't think anybody will follow him, really. So let's be proud of who we are, how we engage. I would be happy for my brother to put their name next time. Because
but what do we do as a station? Some people, even when they call, they say, I am so. When we follow it up, you discover that the name they put was fake.
That's fine. Like, like the UN system, if you're going to complain and don't put your details, they will throw it out. I'm just trying to bring him standard to the international standards. If you can't identify yourself as anonymous, nobody will deal with it.
I think that's a good policy. I'll tell my wife. So that if the text has no name, we should not be reading. That's a very good one. Yeah, but somebody talked about...
Are we able to go on.
Mr. Director, give us the one before somebody said about what is your comment about the current government, what... There was one by Pastor Daniel from Chingola, I think. Because we were loaded one after another, we didn't respond to it. Mr. Director, if you can repeat that text or the two that you gave us before, we'll see which one which deserves the comment.
How we can respond to it.
I don't know if my director...
But there should be a deliberate policy to end poverty.
This one, there should be a deliberate policy to end the poverty in the country.
This one?
One of the right, okay, not this one.
I think the one which followed after this one.
Yeah. There is one. Yeah, this one. There should be a deliberate... okay.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Success wealth. Firstly, accessing wealth is not the right. Okay, but you can make it as a preference.
This has not been championed because of contractual jobs, giving foreigners what is supposed to be for Zambians.
Again, that goes back to what I was saying. What do we want? What do we want as Zambians? If as Zambians we are clear that, look, first come Zambians. If you can't find a Zambian, that's when you move to the next person. Then that is easily done. Even internationally, Zambia is what it takes to enter a reservation. So look, we have entered the reservation on these portfolios, on these jobs. So it will be known that if you're going to go to Zambia, this and that is reserved for Zambians. But I can also tell you that there's been like, let's look at something which everybody sees. Like Chiluba, I may not have agreed with some of these things, but there are some which I agreed with. Look at the Presidential Housing Initiative. They empowered so many Zambians with houses. What did Zambians do? They sold their houses. So who do you blame? The Zambians were empowered with houses. You take a walk in Rhodes Park, parts of Kawata, they are sold. So how do you explain that reality? Two, I'm aware that some Zambians have gotten contracts from wherever. Okay? They get a contract to supply. And I'm aware that some of them have been funds. And particularly when we talk about Chinese phenomena, I want to say one thing. There are so many Chinese companies doing so much. Now, we need to be clear. Let's not stigmatize Chinese people. Let's mention names. Okay, if it's you, say Mr. You, who just happens to be Chinese. Now, when you say Chinese, it is a connotation of lumping all Chinese good and bad together. We shouldn't do that. It's against human rights law. We must be specific. If there is a problem with a particular person, we raise that issue with that person. But the point I wanted to make about some of the people is that when you go to Pakra, you will not find a queue of Chinamen, okay, registered in companies. It will be Zambians. We are selling land.
It's Zambians.
So this is why I keep saying we must answer the question: what do we want as Zambians?
So it is
go back to what the pastor said from Chingola. The poverty levels are very high. But what is worrisome for me is that the people selling land are people who have certain privileges. The villagers who are just so far away from the city machinery are innocently being trapped in challenges.
Because of poverty?
Yeah, you even see when people go to the villages, they get more things than they take from the villages. So I don't think the issue in Zambia is about poverty. Yes, there is no question about it, poverty is there. But the poverty which is there, we have caused it, and we are causing it. What reason does anybody have to obtain vehicles parked at their home?
To obtain what?
To obtain vehicles parked at their home. What for? It's poverty of the mind. The most dangerous thing that can ever happen to anybody, more than colonialism, is when your mind is colonized. When you can't think clearly. When you look at issues from a very compromised standpoint. Once your mind has been captured, you don't have an independent way of looking at things.
There was somebody who said comment on the current government and their performance.
Yes, I will comment on the current government and the performance. Here is my assessment. 12 August 2021 was a bang, just like 1991 and 2011. Zambians voted UNIP out of power. And I'm careful and cautious not to say only MMD people. No. It was Zambians and Zambians who supported MMD who kicked out UNIP. Okay? Come 2011, there was a change of government. Before 2011, rather. There was MMD came in 2011, Patriotic Fund came.
President Sata,
2011, and they ruled for 10 years. Zambians became unhappy with the PF. And Zambians, I don't think it would be fair to say only UPND people. Zambians, in support of the UPND, kicked
PF out.
Okay? Now, where we are is to now see where is UPND taking Zambia. Okay? What the UPND has said is that they are fixing the economy. Okay? Now, if you take it from a, just an objective point of view, when anything is under treatment, there are consequences. Just like if a patient is going through surgery, there will be challenges. But the pain should be mitigated. You must administer painkillers. Because if you operate a patient and don't give any painkillers, the pain might kill them. So there must be a way of fixing the economy as well as making sure that life and living is not completely eroded.
You give volume to the economy so that they sleep well.
Yes, thank you very much. You must give them so they can sleep well. But operation is inevitable.
Yeah.
What the surgery is inevitable. You have to do the surgery, do the correction, but the patient must not be subjected to extreme pain.
He may kick the doctor.
Yes, because absolutely. He may say this doctor is too much. We must avoid so. Here, and I think it's now for the UPND to explain themselves to the people. Okay? To say, look, we are doing X, Y, Z. But in doing X, Y, Z, we aren't just speaking. It must show. That's like that famous advert which was running on ZNBC. That if you pay, it will
when
show.
You pay.
When you pay, it will show. That's right. So if they are subjecting, people to X, Y, Z, then there must be results. And I can only hope that we don't go back to the Kaunda days when they will be saying, whenever they're putting a budget, they say, tighten your belts. So, tighten your belts, but we never talk of. So, we should have a situation where, yes, we are, like, actually, I was so lucky. People agreed to tighten their belts.
Yes.
Okay? He made one or two progresses. But I think there is a mistake which you always make, and I can see us making it again. When we elect a government in office, we shouldn't leave things there that we've elected a government in office, so let them do what they want to do. No, there must be a way of communicating with them. People like yourselves, and many other leaders, I don't think that the leaders must be communicating only through the media. The leaders of the
But you will be so shocked, beloved. Sorry, I'm not the only one. You'll be so shocked that some people, when they are in power, even now, they don't answer phone calls. They don't. Once they say, "Oh, it's Pastor Chiluba,"
They want to answer phone.
you send the
They used to answer
message.
it before.
I can show you how many ministers have sent the messages. Sir, Honorable, get back to me. Not even a word.
What can I say to you, a minister, the pastors? If you had called those ministers, say a day or 2 days before they were, when they were elected, when they were appointed, they would pick their phones. But thereafter,
people
it becomes challenging. And my attribution to it is, when you see there is no political party, and this is a difficult statement to make, but I'll make it. There is no political party which is bigger than a civil service. So when they get in government, they get to a point of comfort. And when they are comfortable, they are confident. And as you know, it is when a man or woman is full of confidence that they are opening for a sucker punch. Because they are very confident, they may do right things or they may make mistakes. But what is not good at all is to stop picking people's phones. That I condemn in the strongest terms.
I can show you here, beloved, certain people, cabinet, like you were saying, we cannot be partisan. I want to interview somebody. I want to write I want that minister to come. I can show you.
Okay.
You even see per WhatsApp now, taking a blue. Not even the courtesy of saying, Pastor, I've seen this, or I'll come in the future.
That's the point which I'm making. People must be able to pick your phone or let their secretary to call you. No, the minister is busy. When he finds time, he'll call you.
One minister,
that's severity.
I've gone to his office 3 times and we have met 2 times.
With each other. We must be civil with each other.
These things, it's a known fact. Even in UNIP or whatever, once you are in power, beloved, people, they see others when they are demoted or they are out of power. But that's how it is. Let's pick some more text messages, Mr. Director. Our own Pastor Chiluba, Babwana MWANJITI, please, things are bad. Please, come out. Don't make cabinet to look bad. We are doomed. He's not a real man. Somewhere, somehow, is wrong. What is supposed to be the right sentence there, Mr. MWANJITI?
I think he's trying
to not to look a real man. I think somewhere who is wrong with my big man.
We are not telling the truth from Solwezi chips.
Telling our HH the truth.
I think it's important that
we
comment on this issue. The first thing is that we are not HH.
Mr. Director, let's first finish this. Yeah.
We are not a spokesperson of HH. He's our president. Okay? And he is able to advise us to give him everything that he needs. Now, as I said earlier on, Zambians, at the end of the day, Zambians have a 5-year mandate towards any government and any president, after which the same thing is re-examined through elections. But going forward, if you want engagement right now, the option which you have is, one, they can talk to the media, talk to the members of parliament, but to say that we aren't telling HH the truth, that is not our function, in my view. Because, what we may know, he probably knows more. In fact, he knows more.
I think
unless I
you
not
see, no, you are right. I think that person is not meaning us. Is meaning the advisors to the president. They are telling him things which are not on the ground.
But he's assuming that they're telling him.
And this is a common mistake. When you say there is hunger, when you say things are bad, like
I don't know about that, but I saw about Pastor, there's one president who refused to take advice from certain places. He would say, and this is lying to me. I rather listen to his people. I'm still not believing that because the president, he has lots of information that is on his desk. And it comes from credible sources. So it's really up to him on how he wants to use that information.
But the problem that we have, MWANJITI, is that when you want to go and give advice, which even the OP may not give him, which even the advisors may not, you may know a certain information. Go and tell him. The president wants to see everyone. He wants to hear. He means well. But I always say sometimes the people around, because they are the ones who give appointments, they are the ones who allow you, MWANJITI, come to State House or not. Unless the president just says, oh, let me call NGANDE, there they have no control.
Well, I agree with you to a very large extent, because I'm talking about something that I've seen. I've seen a situation where the president, before he knows it, becomes captive. The people around him capture him. They determine who he should see, who he should not see. But again, it may be that there are certain challenges which they face. Now, I don't know if they are, I'm trying to be diplomatic about it.
Yeah.
But the reality is that if a good standing citizen like yourself, you want to see the president, really, I don't think it is in the best interest of the advisors to completely block you. Because then the question is, if they are blocking you, they are doing a big disservice to Zambians and the president himself.
Let's speak some more text messages, Mr. Director. Give us some more. Good evening. Our working culture is not good in Zambia. We need to transform our mindset. Look at the foreigners such as Rwandese. They are able to wake up at 04:30 to open shops. Mr. Banda from Matero.
Very true.
Pastor Chiruba, umuntu pakutalika that UPND is working ninshi naikuta. Or pakutalika that UPND is working ninshi naikuta. Let's not only think about ourselves here in Kabwe. We have closed workshops because of load shedding. How can someone continue giving the landlord money while you are not working anywhere? 2026 ni pafupi. I am James Chongo from Kabwe.
Well, you know, that's his view, and I think I have no comment about that. That's his view.
Give us some more text, Mr. Director. 1 or 2 text messages so that we can
You know, he's basically saying that you know, for somebody to,
okay, thank you.
You know, my view and take and advice is this: when you look at the Holy Scriptures, particularly if in my book, the chapter, the book I like most is Proverbs. You find that making a value judgment about somebody or somewhere, so wherever it is, it may not be a good thing. And you cannot hold somebody at ransom and say, look, if you don't do this, just be mindful that next time, 2026 will come and watch you out. That is what has caused us problems. We begin,
you start
we
waiting
don't finish,
for 2026.
we begin again, like if you want to go to Kasama, when you get to Kabwe, you break down, you come back.
You fix the
again,
you go to Mukushi, you come back.
That's what we've been doing. That's what my brother is suggesting.
That's a good one.
So you must finish the journey.
Yeah.
We can't have a situation where I have said changing governments is very costly. Because what happens is not just a change of government. It's change of the way things are done. And if it's a new government, trust me, to take not less than 1 year for them to settle down. The government machinery is big. I am not here to speak for the UPND. What I'm simply saying, even when, if you recall, people just forget, when the PF came in power, until the PF left power, they were blaming the corruption on MMD. They were saying there's too much corruption which MMD has brought into PF. Okay? So, and UNIP did the same thing. The same MMD was blaming UNIP. I remember one minister speaking quite well at a UN meeting in Geneva. And the minister from Kenya reminded him, look, my friend, don't talk as if Zambia has just gotten independence now. Zambia is a country we've been dealing with as Kenyans. So sometimes we tend to look at things in a silo manner, like a compartment. It's either you belong here or you belong there. I want to say this, Pastor, Zambia belongs to everybody. Zambia does not belong to UPND. Zambia does not belong to PF. It doesn't belong to MMD, to UNIP. It belongs to Zambians. The challenge which the current president has is to ensure that he deals with the Zambians. That's the challenge he has. He has to deal with that. He can't run away from dealing with that.
Mr. MWANJITI, time fails me. This has been a wonderful program, and we'll call on you again.
Pastor, I'm most humbled. Thank you very much, and I look forward to come back and be useful in as we engage with the nation.
But start the movement again. The society you started. You refused to work in the government, though you had such opportunities. And the late Sichone, Lucy Sichone, oh, she was a powerhouse.
Yes, I mean,
Lucy Sichone, she was invited in the government. She said no, and yourself. But this time, the easiest way to go into government is to form a pressure group. As long as you can, before long, once you are given, quiet.
But again, that is, this is our country. One of the things which I think I'm very passionate about is how we can grow, how we can grow our economy, how we can grow how we can improve our livelihood. For instance, some of the people the callers here talked about the high levels of poverty. If you look at the industrial sections of society, most of the growth can be traced to the power of small and medium-scale industries.
Absolutely. We'll get there,
yeah.
Ms. MWANJITI. I'm so grateful. On behalf of my wife, who is the CEO of this great television station, on behalf of the young people that are pushing this station day and night, the members of staff, on behalf of the Healing Word Ministries, and on behalf of you, the viewers, I must say that I'm very thankful to Mr. NGANDE MWANJITI. I'm most grateful to God for your making the time.
Thank you very much.
And we hope to see you next week at the same time. If you are load-shedded, remember to go on YouTube or Facebook. Load shedding is everywhere. Just find a way to overcome it. Even us.
Yeah, I noticed the genset was on.
It's still on.
And I'm very proud that and that's the thing which you must do.
Yeah.
When one door closes, trust me, another one will open.
It's been running like this.
So you must be creative.
From the day.
We must be creative.
Yeah, so on behalf of the members of staff and my wife, of course, keep watching CAMNET TV, because CAMNET TV is not just another channel. Dear leaders of this nation, listen to the people of Zambia. May God bless you.